Hi everyone, good morning and good evening. Today I am going to cover message services in SAP MII. So SAP MI message services provides ability to connect SAP ERP system as well as any third-party system. So connecting to SAP ERP system, you can send IDOC or RFC messages to SAP MII as well as you can connect SAP MI to any third-party system, and third-party system can send XML messages directly to message services. So the concept behind message services is message listener. So in SAP MII, there are XMII IDOC message listeners as well as there is a RFC message listener, and as well as there is a XMII XML message listeners. So these all message listeners available in SAP MII. So here you can see a message listeners. So message listener is used to receive the messages from SAP ERP system as well as receiving the messages from a third party system. So moving to next, here you can see SAP MI has a message listener with IDOC listener, that is a 10 IDOC listeners available in SAP MII. The meaning is that at a time you can connect a 10 ERP system, okay, or even you can connect one ERP system with multiple clients as well. So like that, you have a RFC listener also at a 10 RFC listener, and SRFC listener also you have a 10. And here you can see XMII XML listener. So this listener is mainly used for connecting your SAP MII to a third-party system with message services. So all these message listener, IDOC message listener, RFC message listener, or SRFC listeners, that all required a configurations need to be done. So unless and until you will not configure it, it will not able to receive the messages from a ERP system. But XMII XML listener is not required any configuration. So configuration is not required, and that can be used directly for connecting to third-party systems through message services. So now I'm going to show you what all configurations that you need to perform for the message listener. So let me go to a system and show you. So here, logging to NetViewer administrator. So just give your host name, clone port, and NWA to log into the NetViewer administrator. Give here your credential. Now go to a configuration tab, and inside that configuration you have another tab that is infrastructure. Click on infrastructure, and there is application resources. Click on application resources link, and here click on, just search here XMII. So here you can see the XMII IDOC01, your resource adapter. So this resource adapter for this listener need to be configured. If you're not configured, it will not be, you will not be able to use this as a listener. It will not receive any messages. So go to the property here and see what all things are required. So here you can see there is a server program ID. So let me open one notepad here and let me write here what all things are needed. So first is needed, that is the program ID. And second, SAP server. And third, client. And fourth, so here you can see there is a program ID, SAP server, client, and system ID. And fourth is username and password. So this five things is needed here. Program ID, server, SAP server to which you want to connect, client for which client you want to connect, what is the system ID for that SAP system, and what is the username and password to log in. So program ID is a very critical parameter that definitely need to be there. And that actually you can create in SAP ERP system, SAP ECC or S4 HANA inside your SM59. So you can create there the RFC destination and you can maintain a program ID there. And that program ID you need to maintain here. So after providing all these five values in a XMII IDOC01 listener adapter, your adapter status will show here in a green color if you have provided a correct information. It means you are going to connect your ERP system with this message listener by providing this details, connection details. And by using this message listener, you will receive the messages if you are sending any material master production order from your SAP system, SAP configured system. If you have another ERP system, you can configure XMI IDOC02 listener as well. Okay. So the second thing now, log into SAP MII. So just give here XMII, enter. Coming here into message services. Inside this message services, you can see here a message listener. Click on that and you will be able to see all the listeners that available in SAP MII. Okay, so these all are the listener that is available in SAP MII, and that all need to be configured if you want to use it. Okay, so but only one message listener, that is XMII message listener, that is not required any configuration. So suppose if you maintain all your data for your connection details to connect to the ERP system for XMI IDOC01 listener in SAP NetViewer Administrator, then just click on update here. So as soon as you will click update, whatever you have maintained there in NetViewer Administrator, that all value will be coming here. So this value will only come when when your message listener is running there in SAP or NetViewer Administrator. And after that, you can see here the status. So right now there is no ERP system here that connected. So just I'm going through the process. So here you can see server not connected, but all the information you have provided in NetViewer Administrator, that is correct. So here it will show you server connected. So whenever you will send a material master, work center, or any master data or production order, that will come to SAP MII and it received by XMII IDOC 01 listener. So after receiving the messages, you can go to the message monitor. And on the message monitor, you can see all the messages that is received in SAP MII for the different listener. So here there is a filter on listener as well. If you want to see the messages received for XMII.01, so just click this, but we have not received any message with this listener. So that's the reason I'm not able to see any messages here. I have received the messages by using this listener, so I can see these messages here. If I want to see what is the data contains in this message, you can click on display. So you can see this data is coming from third-party system. So let me quickly delete this messages. Okay, because here S4 system is not connected to MII. So I'm showing you by using a postman and sending the messages to SAP MII by XMII message listener. Okay, so I'm using XMII message listener to post a XML payload to SAP MII by using a postman. Okay, so before sending the messages, you can see here the processing rule. And this is important here that when your messages received in SAP MI through a listener, so what will happen next? How it will be processed? So you can write a processing rule for it, so it will be processed accordingly. So there are two types of processing rule in SAP MI. One is the transaction based and another is the category based. So transaction based message rules needs SAP MI transaction to be mapped to the listener. But if you are using a categorized, so in that case, whenever the message will received in SAP MI using the listener, that messages will be stored in a different queue. And anytime you can read that queue messages and you can start processing. So let me send some messages here in SAP MII queue. So let me take the URL. So this is the URL you can use to send the message to message services. Let me come here. Let me open a notepad. So here a server name and port need to be replaced. So let me replace that the server name and port. So this is the server name and port. Okay, so this is fine. Here the message listener name equal to just you need to give some message name. So So I'm just giving a message name as test. A message GYD also you can provide, that unique GYD if you want to provide, you can provide as well. Suppose I'm giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me copy this URL. Open the Chrome and here just paste that URL. Okay. After pasting this URL, go to the authorization tab, and here there is no authorization. Just select here the basic authorization. And here I am giving MII 3. So this is the credential for your SAP MII system. And here in the body, let me update it. Okay, so this is the authorization created, that's fine. Select here the post, and here select this raw, and here whatever the XML message you want to send, just put here. So let me, I have this XML message. Click on view source. Copy it, put here. So this is the one XML message which contains your employee data. Okay. Now I'm clicking on send. Okay, so let me again press. So here you can see the header. It's sent successfully. So now I'm going to MII. Go to the message listener and message monitor. So here you can see one message came here, and the status is categorized. So what message came? Just I sent it from Postman. So you can see this messages came in message monitor. So here you can see the message is categorized, the status. So how this is coming? This is coming from processing rule, because already some processing rule has been defined for this listener. So let me select this, and this is the processing rule has been defined for it. Let me delete this processing rule. I have deleted this processing rule, and again I am going to the Postman and sending the same messages. Send. Now I'm coming back to MII, and I'm clicking on message monitor. So now you can see there is a duplicate message exists. Why? The reason is that the EUID I have sent here that already exists in the previous message. So it is showing a duplicate message. So SAP MII will not process this duplicate message, because it's getting the same message a second time. So that the reason the status change to the duplicate message. So let me delete now the both messages. And again, I'm coming to the postman and sending again. Now I'm going there, click on message monitor. You can see there is a no rule defined. Now the status has got changed and no rule. The reason is that there is no rule defined for it. I have not defined any rule. Now I'm going to define a rule. Okay. So defining a rule, what you need to do, you need to just click on create. And after that, you will get this screen, and here you can give the a rule name. So SAP MII, I have given this name, and here I am going to write a rule on the message listener, that is XMI message listener. Okay. So, and here the message name I am giving just a star. So it will be applicable for all the messages that is coming and it is received by the XMI listener. And here if I will click, I will see here two things. One is the transaction based and one is the category based processing rule. So transaction based category rules is mainly used when you want to process it in a real time. Okay, so then only it will be used. So here you can map a transaction. Okay, you can map here any transaction. So let me map one transaction here just for a showing purpose. So here clicking on transaction, we have one transaction here, a read categorized message. So click on that. And this transaction has two input parameter. One input parameter is in XML data. And in that in XML data, I want to map here whatever the XML is coming in a message, I want to pass this XML message to in XML data. And in second parameter for the transaction is message ID. And there I want to pass the message ID that is coming, that is generated by SAP MII when it's received in message services, because message ID is the unique key. Okay, and here I'm just making it on error. The persistent of the transaction will be on error only. So after creating this, let me save it. Okay, and before that, let me show you what this transaction is. Okay, so you will came to know what is this transaction is doing in a packet. So here I'm searching that message. Okay, so in this, what I'm doing, I'm just writing that XML file that is coming from message services. At the time of calling this transaction, I have two input parameter in XML data and message ID, and I am going to write these two values in MI file in XML data and message ID. So whenever I will send a message from there, it will call this transaction because I have written a processing rule as a transaction. So at a real time, at the time of receiving that message, this transaction will be called and it will change the status for that message from what the status will be changed. Now it will be changed to processed. Okay. So I'm going to use this update message action block to update the incoming message status to success. So processed means success. You can do your own logic here. You can write your logic, whatever you want to do with that message. And then actually you can update that a message status either failed or success in your queue monitor. So first time when the message will come, the status will be received. But when this transaction will be called and that transaction will update that, okay, it has been processed, so change it from receive to success. So coming to here, let me click on message monitor. And here this message is there. I'm going to send again the same messages here. But here I am changing the GUID, otherwise it will say that a duplicate message. Sending again, going to MII, clicking again for refresh. And now you can see the message is success. And if you want to see that either whatever I sent that came in a right file or not. So see here what is the right file path, default message listener and test.txt. So go to the default message listener. This file has been created. Double clicking on this file, you can see this message, XML message written here, and 64 is the message ID. So like that, you can call your a transaction by writing a transaction-based processing rule in message services in SAP MII. Okay, so this is the transaction-based. Let me delete again this message. And there is a processing rule. So processing rule I had written for this message listener. I'm going to change the processing rule from transaction based to category based because there are two type of processing rule. So let me click on edit and make the changes here that category. So now I have changed the processing rule to category based. So here you can see it is asking me that what is the category. So category is nothing but a table or a queue where whenever the message will received by this message listener, XMI message listener, it will store in that queue. So that queue actually you can create here, add, and here just give the queue name. I'm just giving employee as I using the employee data, employee queue, and description is not mandatory, so you can leave it. And after adding it, so what is the meaning of this category base? So whenever the message payload will come, XML data will come to SAP MII, it will store that data in employee queue. And that messages anytime you can read and you can process it. Okay. So if the requirement is that to gather all the messages coming from this listener to one queue and write one BLS transaction in MII and read this messages and process it. So in that case, you can do this, and processing type transaction you can use if you want a real-time processing. Click on save. And now I'm going to here and sending the messages again. But here I'm changing the GUID, otherwise it will give me a duplicate message. Send it. Go here. Click on message monitor. You can see here the status is categorized because I have written a processing rule, categorized processing rule. So it's the status is categorized. So now I'm going to write one transaction. So I will read this message and I will change the status for it after processing. So let me go to the workbench, and here I'm just writing one transaction. Let me write one transaction in default. And here, what you can do, go to the message services action category. And here you can see there is a query message. Bring it here, object, and here you need to give the server name. What is the server? So server name actually you can see from here. Here, this is a server name, XMII message listener. So right here, the server name, XMII message. So XMII message listener. And here you can give the message name, but that is not required. Here I am just selecting the web service because the message type is my web service message type. And here I'm just selecting, I want to read the categorized status messages. So I have selected categorized, and here there is a date and time. So I'm making that date and time for the future. So it will come under this. Clicking on OK. Adding here one tracer to see what this gives me the output. So here in the tracer, I'm mapping the output for my query message. So after mapping it, I'm running it. Just click on test. Copy this in a notepad. So you can see I read that message. The message ID is 65. That is there in queue monitor. So message ID is 65. So if the message ID is 65, I have another action block to read the message. So for reading the message, I need to pass the message ID. So here in message ID field, I will be mapping the query message ID. So here I have a message ID. I'm mapping the message ID, and then I'm making it to convert to XML as one, update it. And now I'm going to show you the output for a read message. So this will show the employee data that I sent in queue monitor. So let me show you the output here, that XML document, and run it. Copy this. So Control A and Control B. So you can see here, you got a complete XML message which you sent from Postman, and your rule was the categorized based rule. So you can read anytime the messages from your queue monitor. And if you will be going to the queue monitor, this message is still there. If you want that to change the categorized to success, it means suppose you have done a processed it. If you want this message data to be inserted into a database, so after inserting a data into the database, you want to change the status for this message, you can do it. So let me, here you can write your database record insertion logic, but I am not going to write that. So just I am going to show you how actually you can change the message status as well to success. It means it's processed. So there is an update message, and here just in the update message action block, you need to give the reference for your message ID, and your message ID you can map it from your query message. So this is my message ID. Okay. And if I will run it now, it's got success. And if I will come to the message monitor and I will refresh it, you can, oh, sorry. Here actually I had not changed earlier the status in transaction. So let me see here. You can see here the message status was not maintained. So you can check it at the received. Received is equal to success. Let me run again. So once actually it's got success, it means you have made the changes. It will not making the changes again. So let me send one another message through here. So let me send me another message at 9. Send. Go to the message monitor and let me delete this message first. And search it. Okay, it's in int came. Let me try to send again. It's came here. Now what I'm doing, I'm going to run this transaction. And now I'm going to the message services, message monitor. Message monitor, and it is in a received status. Okay. So if you want to do the changes here, you can do. So how you will do these changes? This is the status is received. So what you need to do, go here and reading query the messages, not for categorize, the query the messages for the received. Okay, so go up and here it is the received and click OK. And now run it. And now go to the, and this is received. This is message ID. So here, through the message listener, I want to read the message received. Let me see what is coming here. Query message output. Run it. So I'm getting that message ID is 66. Okay. And for the message ID 66, I want to update the status. So let me come here again, refresh this if anything is changed here or not. It is in received status. Let me go to the transaction. It's giving me a message ID 66. And let me come here. And the message ID I have mapped here 66. Let me add here one tracer to see either a control is coming up to there or not. And here you can select what status you want to change. So I want to change it to processed. Okay. It means success. So let me run it. It's got processed. Go to the listener and you can see here success. So you can process your messages from a queue or as well as you can process your messages in a real time. So it depends completely on processing rule. And here there is a cleanup rule. So you can write a cleanup rule as well. So if you want to create one cleanup rule, you can create here. So you need to give a cleanup rule name, anything you can give. And here on which listener you are creating the cleanup rule, that you need to select. And here you need to select the message type. So this is the web service. And here you need to give the message name. So in our case, I'm using the test message. So I'm just giving the test. And here you can define that message older than. So suppose I'm giving here 8 hour. So the meaning is that, and here I'm giving success. So the meaning is that any message that is older than 8 hour and that got successfully processed should be deleted. So you can write a processing rule to delete as well. And this is required. The reason is that daily the messages are coming and that getting stored in a queue monitor. So depending on the message frequency, it might affect your MIA performance as well. So better to write a cleanup rule as well. So thank you very much for watching the video. And if you have any doubt, any question, you can comment. I will answer.